welcome to Leading Entrepreneurs of the World. I'm Melissa Ashley, a board member of One Business World. For those of you joining us for the first time, Leading Entrepreneurs of the World features entrepreneurs, founders, and business leaders presenting on cutting-edge topics and the latest in industry developments. Our goal is to always provide the global business and entrepreneurial communities with a window into the minds of those who are shaping the future of the world. Today, we're delighted to welcome global communications, media and entertainment corporate executive and leading entrepreneur, Hugo Almeida. Hugo is the founder and host of one of the fastest growing global podcasts, T20E World, the 2020 Entrepreneur World. Hugo also hosts the TechFluencer Talk podcast, is founder of HEA Media Group, HEA Brands, and still holds the CEO role for technology leader Abitronix. Hugo Almeida has been a visionary entrepreneur, outdoor and ocean lover since childhood, and today shares his new passion, podcasting. Hugo, we're lucky you could find the time to be with us today to talk about finding the genius in you. Welcome to Leading Entrepreneurs of the World.
Oh, Melissa, thank you so much for having me. And it's a pleasure to be on your platform here. I'm just happy to be here and share and discuss really what it is, the process of finding the genius in you. So if you like, I can begin. And I would love to present this topic. It's something that's very passionate to me. And it's something that I always talk about, that if we were given the opportunity, or if somebody were to tell us about this early on in your life, you would be so far ahead in the game today. I wish I understood this in my late teens and early 20s, right? When you're coming out of college, you know, you kind of follow the steps that we're told, right? So, and it's such a confusing time. You're coming out of school, you're trying to figure out really, what is it that I'm good at? You know, I got a degree. What do I do? So finding the genius of you is such an important thing, because we all, and I'll repeat that, we all have a genius deep down inside of us. And to find what it is that we're really good at, what are we passionate about? It's a process. And that's the most important thing to take as we start talking about finding the genius in you. It is a process, right? It's a moment. And we all hit this moment, right? When, I don't know, you climb to the summit of a mountain and you're overlooking this gorgeous valley, or you're walking along the beach and watching the sun rise. It's a moment where you connect with you and just you alone. And that is where the process truly begins. It's a time where we reflect, right? We reflect and we have to be honest with ourselves. And listen, that is the goal. In order for you to find that genius, understanding it's a process, listen, you have to be honest with yourself. You know, what are your values? Your true values that you hold deep down inside. You know, understanding who you really are. That's so important. And you have to evaluate yourself. And listen, you know, no one is judging here, because it's really just you critiquing yourself. And that's how it begins, right? So think about this. You know, you start with an evaluation process of your personality. You know, what type of personality do you have? And again, I'm going back to the same word I keep saying, is you have to be honest with yourself. You have to be real. You have to figure out, listen, what is it about my personality that's strong? Maybe what do I need to work on? You know, what's my temperament like? Like, what is it? What's my temperament when I'm around others, when I go out, when I'm with teammates? The other thing that's going to be extremely important is ask for feedback. Whether it's a mentor, a professor, a coach, you know, get feedback, get honest criticism, and be able to actually receive it well. And that's hard. That's not easy, especially when you're younger, right? Someone out there critiquing who you are, it sometimes can hurt the ego, right? But put the ego to the side. Let's put pride to the side as well. Let's truly connect with individuals that know who we are, because they're the ones that are going to say, you know, Hugo, I got to tell you, you're really good with people. I see how the compassionate side that comes out when you go one-on-one with younger people. You know, it's that kind of feedback that begins the whole evolution of you truly finding out that genius deep down inside of you. And it takes a while. This does not happen overnight. And the good thing about this is, since it is a process, is like you always go back and tweak everything as you find other things about yourself. You know, you go back, you tweak, you reanalyze, you reevaluate yourself. Another topic that I think is critical, is what are your fears? Yeah, it's something that we avoid, right? But truly, and I'm not talking about spiders here, right? I'm talking about truly what are the fears that you have? Is it, for example, getting out in front of a large crowd? I get nervous, right? When you present, is that a fear? How do we put that behind us? How do we take the fear on? What are my passions? You know, do I have hobbies? What do I like to pay attention to, right? What truly sparks the curiosity in me? That's how you start identifying certain passions within, and it's okay. It's all good stuff, and it all starts accumulating. And for you to better understand who you truly are, you ask yourself all these questions. You go and you get the feedback. It's so important, you start you start really understanding, oh, listen, this is exactly what I love to do, and this is what I'm really good at. What am I good at? That's a perfect one. And what am I not so good at? It's important to know your limits too, right? We all have them. We all have them. The other thing is, let's take this to a whole other level, right? And we start talking about people skills, assess those, how we deal with them, the relationships that we have, whether they're relationships with our parents, our grandparents, siblings, friends, maybe in a relationship with a significant other. Be honest, judge, what are your relationship skills? Have dreams, right? It's so important. Dream big. I always say dream big, but have some goals, right? Like Denzel Washington says, right? Dreams without goals, they're just dreams. It's so true though. And it's part of identifying who you really are, right? What is that mission? Once you identify all these little stages that take and identify that passion inside you, that genius, you start realizing, listen, this might be my mission in life. This is what I really want to do. This is what I'm really good at. Melissa, sometimes, I'm not talking about life-changing things here. I'm talking about keeping this kind of simple, keeping it honest and real. And it's, again, you talking to yourself, identifying who you really, really are. Again, this is the things that improve yourself. Think about going to a job interview, and the person that's interviewing you asks you, well, what are you good at? What's your passion? Imagine someone who already has gone through this process of finding who they really are, what that genius inside them are. Imagine the response that they're going to get during an interview. There's not a company out there that don't like to hear someone young, someone professional that really has got it together and can tell that story about who the genius inside of them really is, what they want to do, what they can offer the company. Think about that. That's where it is. That's where it begins. If we can start this at a young age, it just develops you and puts you so far out in front of the crowd. It's so, so important.
So this journey, this road of self-awareness, this process that you're suggesting everybody take at an early age, is what's the end goal? Is it career-wise? Is it personal happiness? What's the end goal?
No, Melissa, great question. And it's a combination of everything, right? It's about truly identifying who you are, who Hugo is, or whoever it is it's kind of reassessing themselves. You're trying to identify really what is it at an early age that you're good at, your passions, how you give back to the community, how you give back to other individuals. The ultimate goal, obviously, is to be happy in life, right? But let's say it's going to assist you in your profession, and I'm not saying you're going to go to college, you're going to get a corporate job. It could be whatever it is that you truly want to do in life, but it will clear that cloud that exists for all the young professionals that are trying to get out into that workforce. It's not always the same stages that we're taught. It's not always, go to college, graduate, get a corporate job. It could be, you don't go to college, go to a good trade school, do something you really want to do, something that you really are good at. That's the ultimate goal, because at the end of the day, life is short. You might as well live it real happy. And I always say, listen, careers have been built on people's passions, right? But remember, in order to get there, you have to find the genius in you.
Interesting. So I know you've emphasized a few times the importance of starting young. And when you think about, coming out of college, when you're probably the least self-aware, you've got the least amount of wisdom like to lean on. What are some of the tools, or what are some of the different things that you recommend that younger generation do in order to be able to sort of uncover that genius? Because sometimes it's not quite so obvious.
It's not, you're right, Melissa, it's not. And it's not an easy process, right? Let's be honest with ourselves. We're critiquing ourselves. The one tidbit of advice that I could give all of the young professionals that are out there listening to your program is don't be afraid to ask. Ask for advice, ask for criticism, ask a mentor, someone that you truly trust, someone that knows you. That person, again, it could be a professor, it could be a coach in high school, it could be a parent or a grandpa, even better. Ask a variety of people to give you that feedback, because you know why? They're going to be honest. They know where you're coming from. They've all been there. We have all been there. I always speak about myself, right? Through my career, my life, all the ups and all the downs. I wish I did this analysis of myself, what my genius was way back early on when I was in school. Again, as you mature, as you go through the evolution of life, you figure it out. We all figure it out. Some figure it out a little later in life, others a lot younger. But think about if we can truly start this process at an early age. And it's hard to convince someone in high school, right? About, hey, listen, find the genius in you, critique yourself. Not easily accepted. So that's why, when I speak to young entrepreneurs, business people, college, high school students, and I talk about this process, it's really is about just your solo one-on-one time with yourself.
Interesting. So let's bring it to the entrepreneurs. So you speak with these entrepreneurs. They've obviously uncovered a passion because they have started some sort of a business or are looking to, but that doesn't necessarily mean they've uncovered their genius, right? So how do you separate the two?
So yeah. So again, go back to the word passionate, what we're passionate about. So part of that process in identifying that genius in ourselves, right? It could be like my passion was people early on. I figured out that I'm really good around one-on-one or in smaller groups. I could really get through communities, students, athletes, entrepreneurs that are getting into the workspace. And I really saw a difference and the acceleration in their process when we were in smaller groups. And again, so that was my passion. What I did with that is I took that genius in me, right? And I applied that to my companies, and I help evolve my employees, how to improve themselves. It's only good for them, right? It's a way of me giving back. If I could facilitate or guide or just set the vision for them, the rest is up to them. And once you identify that passion, you start breaking things away and maybe you take that step into entrepreneurship. The entrepreneurship can take you in any direction, right? It's wide open, so it's knowing who you are that sparks everything else that comes next.
So it sounds like uncovering that passion and understanding what that genius is, it's almost as important to understand where you're not a genius, right? So that you can think about, as you use that example of your company, where to best apply what you bring to the table and really start to recognize what you don't.
Yeah. I think, Melissa, I think the hardest thing for even an entrepreneur, right? The hardest thing sometimes is really ask for assistance. Whether we're going through a tough time, it's okay. It's always okay to ask for help, ask for guidance, ask for criticism, ask for suggestions. It's okay. Too many times, especially when we're younger, I'm going to use myself as an example. Growing up, I was a little thick-headed. I didn't go out there and ask for people's criticism or, that came with time. But imagine if I could have at a young age, early, even maybe during my high school years, just kind of break that, whatever that barrier was, that fine line, and just say, hey, listen, what do you see in me that I may be able to know about myself that maybe I'm not thinking about? Maybe early on, I could have started developing some of those habits, those passions that I had inside of me that I was not even aware of. identifying what I call those geniuses in yourself, and it starts young. It's a process, I say. And the thing is, if you could break that thin barrier and just not be afraid to ask, you'd be amazed at what you can do.
So starting young, I think, gives anybody a huge leg up in terms of being successful, whether it's in their careers or their personal lives. But it also sounds like this can really apply to anybody at any age if they're willing to be introspective and take that risk. And it is a risk, right?
Yeah. Well, listen, to throw the word ego in there, right? It's sometimes we're going to get information that maybe we're not happy about, right? About our, I don't know, personalities, our temperament, maybe how we react to good criticism. And as you get older, you mature yourself. Obviously you've gone through more in your life. You kind of learn to take on criticism a lot different, right? Than when you're young. When you're young, you may not be too happy to hear that. Maybe, listen, you're blowing your fuse for no reason, where maybe when you're young, you're thinking, hey, I had all the reason in the world to blow up at somebody. It's not so. It's good to learn to listen. You have to become a good listener too, So I think that barrier of just asking for good criticism and being able to listen and accept it. And you know what? Listen, I'm not going to say there, I'll be lying if I said to everybody, hey, sure, everything everybody gives you, check it, try to work on it. No, it's identifying all the bits of information, collect it all, because it's all building blocks. It's all part of that process. And like I said, you're right. You're never too old to do this. But man, if you can do this at an early age, you're way, way ahead of the game.
Well, it sounds like also to your point is, as you say, to ask, multiple people is maybe to look for, would you talk at all about some of the recurring themes that you could look for? Because everyone has their own perception, right? But when you start to see those recurring themes, that's when you can really start to maybe take it a little bit more seriously. Is there any advice you would give to folks as they're starting to listen in and start to hear all of this feedback? And I'm sure some of it will be positive and I'm sure some will be negative, but how do you sort of wade through that clutter?
So great point there, Melissa, because yes, in today's world, it's a digital era that we're all growing up in today, right? So there is, outside of that digital world, there's also a lot of noise. Learn to filter out the noise and focus on yourself. It's really, really important. If you want to begin the process, it starts with you truly connecting with yourself internally, right? And I always talk about those quiet moments, maybe, right? No one else got up. You're down the shore on a vacation and no one decided to get up and watch the sun rise. Well, you know what? It's those moments where you're alone and you're just connecting with yourself. It's quiet and you're okay with critiquing yourself. You're okay with asking yourself, well, what am I going to do? Whether it's like apply for a new job, whether it's graduate high school, what college am I going to select? It's a moment where you're truly connected with your internal self. It's just a one-on-one discussion with you, and it's blocking everything out. There's so much noise in this world today. Learn to block it out, learn to focus on yourself. I mean, listen, we're all more health conscious nowadays, right? We all have smart watches, or at least we pay attention to what we're eating sometimes. So that's all part of it too. If you can do that with your health, start doing that with yourself, your mind, your body, your soul. That's where it all begins. It's that connection with you and being honest with yourself. Taking good criticism, my advice is listen, just learn to listen. Don't take that information personally. Take it as solid suggestions, and then you'll figure out what it is that you need to do with it.
I see. No, that's good. I love the idea of, if you think about your health this way, why not think about yourself that way? It's a great way to think about it. So let me close with one final question. You mentioned a lot the importance of really trying to get younger generations to start to think this way and really uncover their own, inner genius. So, and you've talked a little bit about, introspection and asking yourself questions, but if you're really going to work with people that are really new to this concept, are there 3 core questions that we could leave people with that they should be asking themselves just to get them started on this journey?
I think definitely identifying fears. Again, I go back to that statement. I'm not talking about spiders, right? I'm talking about really what really makes the hair stand up and what makes you sweat. Like some people, they can't get in front of not even forget a crowd. Some people can't get in front of a group of 3 other people because they start getting stressed out. Their smartwatch just goes off the charts. So identify the fears. And it may not be, I'm just using that as an example as presenting, but it is a popular one. But identify those fears. Ask yourself that. Ask yourself this other question. What sparks the curiosity in you? You know, that could lead to a hobby, that could lead to a career. You don't know that, but find out what the passions are, right? So you got the fears, you got the passions. And the most important thing and is being honest with yourself. Because again, I go back to the way I started by saying, it's a moment where you are critiquing you, no one else. It's just you and yourself. So you're collecting all this information, right? And that could be feedback from other people that you care about, mentors, professors, coaches, parents. And then you're collecting all that data, and it's you and you only making a list of really what it is that other people have said about me and what it is that I know about already. And what is it that I didn't know about myself? That's how we start identifying the genius in ourselves, right? So being honest with yourself, identifying the passions and figuring out the fears. Those I would say are the top 3 on my list,
Yeah, no, those are great top 3 to start with, and probably challenging for a lot of people to acknowledge. So I think
Not
you've
easy.
given them enough homework to get started with. So Hugo, thank you so much for inspiring us to find the genius in ourselves. It was super helpful.
My pleasure.
We really appreciate your taking the time to come visit us at Leading Entrepreneurs of the World, and we hope we'll have you back to visit us again soon.
I would love to. Thank you so much. Listen, like my friend Rohan Marley says, love what you do what you love.
Great. That's a great way to end. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.